Hello and welcome to Lightways at Life Astrologer with me, Anna Isabel. And today my guest is Alejo Lopez. How are you?
Great, how are you? Nice to be here.
It's wonderful to have you back. It's been a while now since we last spoke, but
Yeah,
but you've been busy, and I saw that you gave a talk for the Astrological Association's conference,
yes.
and it was about love in the modern age, shall we say.
In the postmodern age.
Postmodern age, yes, indeed. So love is not a fashion. It's love is love, right? So what I guess maybe I'm playing with the idea, but I think that there are different ways of expressing love.
Hmm.
And I thought, yes, there is a quality of air that's coming in to the to our way of being, given the Aquarius, the strong theme of Pluto in Aquarius, Uranus in Gemini, potentially the Aquarian age as well. And I thought it might be good to look at the different types of love and look at it from the perspective of different elements.
Ah, nice. Okay.
So tell us what you feel love means if you're an air sign.
Oh, what a surprise. I would say for an air sign, so let's say Venus in an air sign, so to kind of maybe it's easier to see. I would say there's something about valuing ideas and intellect, and perhaps a kind of love that it's a little bit more detached, that allows more space to reflect and to think. And maybe it's a little bit, some people say it's a little bit colder with this idea of detached. Some people might say colder. I would say it's not necessary. I mean, I think when we interpret from a perspective, right? So I would say, okay, a fire sign might think air signs are a bit colder. But I would say air signs might look at fire signs or water signs and say, you're too you're too emotional, you should chill a bit, right? So who is right? So I wouldn't want to say cold. I would say, yeah, this idea of being perhaps more rational, also being able to rationalize what they feel. I think a lot of people, I was having a session with a patient of mine, and he broke up with his girlfriend, and the way he was speaking about love was so rational, so rational. It was air, a little bit earth. It was so much about balances and what I give and what I gain and how much am I getting and what's the cost. It was like so rational, and I was telling him, look, I can't believe you're talking about love this way. But again, it's not wrong. It's not. Yeah, there are different ways, right, of loving.
Yes, and maybe what we're talking about is the different way of experiencing emotion,
Yeah.
because as we're talking about air, and I find particularly with my clients or my patients with the moon in air signs, getting them to actually feel instead of think
Yeah.
is a challenge, and there are good reasons why we need sometimes to just feel instead of think, because the subconscious is the subconscious, and what we rationalize instead of feeling leads to behaviors that then lead to the arrival of clients on my doorstep going, why am I behaving like this?
Yes, totally.
Feeling
Yes.
very exasperated with themselves. I always liken it to the parent, from when I used to teach, and I always saw my work is a collaboration with parents because, you know, it's their child and it's very important. But that collaboration often led parents to bring me their children when they felt that the child was misbehaving at home. And they would arrive in the classroom in the morning going, he did this last night and I just don't know what to do with him. What do you suggest? And sometimes clients arrive and it feels like the parent bringing the child in very exasperated and saying, I don't know what else to do with this child. And that's when we need to talk about feelings and the rational bit falls down. And so my air moon clients often struggle with this.
Yeah, yes, totally. I think it's so interesting when you ask them, how do you feel? What did you feel in this situation? And they start replying, well, I think, and I'm like, okay, yes, that's not exactly, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is that there. But I was also, you know, I've been thinking about this topic, knowing that we were going to be discussing it today. And it made me think of Richard Idemann's book about love. I can't remember the title off the top of my head.
I have it here.
But you've
Through the
probably
Looking Glass.
Through the Looking Glass. That's the one. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. And how he breaks love down into different types.
Yeah, because he's talking about the Greek approach to love. And one of these types is like love for friends. But there are more types than he describes, I remember now. So one is the love for friends. The other one is love for family. I think there's even one in Greek, in ancient Greek, they even had love for foreigners, this idea of being hospitality. And I do think that air signs may bring love, a lot of love for friends. I think there's something about breaking, you know, I think like in monogamous relationships. So this is not my idea, okay? This is a writer called Brigitte Bardot. No, Brigitte, no, what's the name? Today I'm so... Vassacho, Brigitte Vassacho, that's why I said Brigitte Bardot. Brigitte
Are there
Vassacho.
two of them?
Yeah, Brigitte Vassacho. And she wrote about monogamy and polyamory. And she says that monogamy is based on a capitalist idea, the idea of competition. So my partner has to fight to be the number one and to be the only one that is chosen among others. So she talks about this idea how when people have relationships, so many times their friendships get affected. There's a kind of competition between the time they spend with friends and then the time they spend with their partners, and like how this is going to happen, and a lot of activities that now they will only do with their partners, no longer a friend thing because it's something special for us. So she talks about this, and what she's saying is in polyamorous relationships, the ideal would be that all of the bonds we make, they don't compete. They are all trying to support each other. It's like a network of people supporting each other. And I think maybe air signs may tend towards more this idea of democratizing the different relationships we have and trying perhaps to bring this idea that there's no one major relationship, except perhaps Libra. Libra might be more like, I want to have the one, who is the counterbalance. But with Gemini and Aquarius, I think there might be, of course, we're not talking about the sun sign, right? We're talking about qualities of energies, and then we have to look all the time the whole chart. But I think in Gemini and Aquarius, there might be this approach which is more, I call it democratizing, more horizontal, the idea that all of my relationships are equally important, and perhaps there's even sometimes confusion for them between what's a friend and what's a lover, like sometimes it's not very clear. I'm thinking of a friend now, I'm saying this, who his moon in Libra, actually, very tight conjunct to Uranus, and he's a sun in Gemini, and everyone is friend. His co-workers are friends. His bosses are friends. His people that are under his charge are friends. Of course, his lovers are friends. His friends are friends. Everyone is friends. Yes. So funny.
I think that's very interesting. I'm not sure that monogamy is a capitalist thing. I think it probably predates
Yeah,
capitalism.
of course. Yeah, yeah.
And I think it's more about intimacy. And I think really maybe what we're talking about is different different degrees of intimacy suit different people. And for air, it's a lighter feeling, and I think that it's more about the friendship connection, the communication, the meeting of minds, because I think for air, intimacy is the meeting of minds.
Yes, probably yes.
And so I think that if we're going to try to understand love in that love is expressed in different ways, we have to ask, if we're talking about romantic love, then this is about intimacy. But intimacy can come in different packages because the work you do with your clients is very intimate, as is mine. The relationships we have with our children are very intimate, but it's and with our animals can be very intimate, but it's different types of intimacy. And I think when we're looking at air, there does need to be a meeting of minds for intimacy to happen.
Yes, totally. Yes. And I'm thinking also like because when we think of love, we think of I mean love can be such a huge thing, right? But I think we're talking about love in a kind of more relationship partners, right?
Mm.
And we connect with this, of course, sexuality, because usually this is something that it's reserved for this area. And so the thing is, I think that we tend to think about sexuality in a very physical way. But just like you're saying, I mean, the first, I'm not saying it is, but I think the first kind of idea we get is kind of an attraction that has to do with a physical experience. And perhaps for air signs, the attraction is not necessarily so physical, like you're saying. And it could be, there are some people who say, no, for me, sex is not so important. And maybe the intimacy they share with their partners has not so much to do with, for them, having sex is having a very interesting, deep conversation about, I don't know, the lightness of being. They are just talking about abstract ideas, and this is for them, this is making love. And I think it's important, just what you're saying, to remember that there's a history of pleasure and attraction and sexuality, which is personal. It's never shared. And I think we have a kind of social idea and sometimes social pressure of how we should enjoy our sexuality and our relationships and what is a healthy relationship. And I think, just like you're saying, this is a bit maybe it doesn't allow the more authentic expression of each one of us. Yeah.
It's interesting because you brought pleasure into the equation, and of course, pleasure is very important. And again, if we're looking at air, pleasure is a good conversation.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And the exchange of ideas and the exchange of information. And so, yes, I think that maybe there's the idea of sexual fantasy too.
It
You
could
know,
be.
it's
Yes.
that it plays out there as well. So I think that it's a very interesting thing. So far from being the cool quality that we might think, because it's different, it's it's not as cool as it looks. It's just that it's quite cerebral as well.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, yeah.
But it's nevertheless, it's a kind of it's a different kind of intensity. Um, so I think that that's quite interesting. So do you feel that, I guess it's a difficult question, but attitudes to love do change over time? Once upon a time, romantic love was not the spur to marriage.
Mm.
Marriage was done for different reasons. This is again the seventh house. This is the house of contracts. Marriage is a contract. Um, and then somewhere it kind of crept in this romantic idea that this is what marriage is. And I'm not, judging it either way. I'm just saying that's what it is. So do you feel that we're perhaps on the cusp of a different way of viewing relationships?
Yes, I think we are. Yeah, we are on the cusp. I think, first of all, I think I mean, I'm thinking so many things at the same time. So let me try to organize my head. First of all, I would say I think there's something important about gender and gender identity that is changing. And so, in the way that we are starting to understand that gender is a subjective information, cannot be defined by someone outside telling you you are this gender or you are that gender. The way we're starting to understand this, I think, has come at on the same road, let's say, of understanding that gender and what you're attracted to, who you're attracted to, might not be the way that it was usually thought. Yeah. So I think we're starting to develop all of these different concepts. I mean, we're not starting. I mean, this has been going on from the 1970, I would say 1980. Different concepts to understand the way we relate to each other. So one is the idea of gender identity, that is no longer male or female. There are more options. Then the idea of what I'm attracted to, that again is not just male, female. Now there are kind of more options. And then there is, of course, gender behavior. So we're starting to separate all of these things. Like in the past, we would say a woman must behave like a woman. A person who was born and given the biological gender of womanhood must behave as a woman and must be attracted to a man. Then we started saying, okay, no, some men are born with a male organ, sex organ, and they are attracted to men, and some women are born with a female organ and they're attracted to women. And now we're starting to separate all of them, right? And say, no, wait, we have people who are born with a gender, people who define themselves with a different gender, people who behave in ways that socially are not the gender that are not the behaviors that we would traditionally associate with that gender, and then people are attracted to different genders no matter what the gender are. So this has created a huge variety of relationships.
For the average person, that's not quite the experience at this moment in time, but it's the concepts that exist.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the visibility that this started to have. I think now we're in a moment in which this is being resisted. So there's, I think, a push back to more traditional values. So I'm not sure if we're emerging a new form of relationship, but I think the emergence of all of this variety has or was given space to rethink what a relationship is, because in the past it was so much based on the idea of sacred marriage, the idea of reproduction, and now it's more and more breaking. This is being broken.
I think sometimes we need to, as a society, experiment in order to redefine and perhaps reaffirm. We don't know yet what we're doing, redefining or reaffirming. But we do from time to time go through these phases where we're having to just check where we are. And I think that this is extremely Aquarian, the need to check where we are. And I feel that the Aquarian principle still requires a type of intimacy, because it is, but it's a different type of intimacy, because it is friendly and collective. So it's I think what I'm trying to get at is that there is an impulse towards a unity of group. So that relationships are important, but maybe they're important in the context of the group that they exist in, and in the contribution that they make in terms of the group. And maybe I'm thinking about composite charts here, because it's that principle with composite charts, in a sense, of two becoming one, and the one has a function to perform in society. And maybe I'm thinking about it in those terms. I hadn't put the two together, but I think it is about that coming together to create something for the benefit of society.
Okay. Yeah, it's because to me, I would think when I think of Aquarius, I think more of the idea of being independent and being free. So I think more that there has become this kind of need to feel special and feel unique, which of course we all are special and unique in some ways, but at the same way, we are not. I mean, we're all in this. In the end, we're all humans trying to survive in this mess and trying to make sense of this. But I think what I would think is that the Aquarian spirit has brought this sense of, I am special, I am unique, I deserve better. So to me, I would say that what could have been, when I was talking about this kind of breakup of concepts, what could have been an opening up of a lot of possibilities, I think it's becoming more a disconnection, because more and more we are like, more and more the people I meet are not enough for what I need. I will not sacrifice my freedom. I will not sacrifice my sense of being special for this. No one is enough to do that.
Yes, and it's causing a great deal of unhappiness, as I see from my clients.
Yeah.
So this is a tension that's there, because the desire for intimacy is human. The desire for connection is human. And the desire to be seen by someone as special is also very human.
Yes.
And we've gone through this Piscean age where there's the desire to merge, and I think that this is a water thing, the desire to merge, to connect, that emotional level that, you know, that's so important. And now it's, as you said, this disconnection. And how do we fit in as human beings into that disconnection? I think you're absolutely right. There is this process of disconnection that's happening. But I also see that as a society, we are not particularly happy.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And we can say that disconnection is contributing to unhappiness. And so it's, I guess what I'm getting at is, how do we connect within that framework of freedom
Yeah.
and independence that we're talking about? And clearly air signs are more built for this, in a sense, particularly if you've got, you know, Moon in Libra or Venus in Libra. Not Libra, air. Libra
Okay.
being
Yeah.
one of the air, but if you've got Venus or the Moon in air signs, this comes more naturally. So I think we have to find a different way of relating that allows for individual freedom and respects the context of the social context too. So
Yeah.
this is the challenge, and maybe we need to rethink and see a relationship as being in the Aquarian or the air sense, about a meeting of minds that allows for collaboration,
Yeah.
and that then becomes a part of something bigger.
Yeah. Like what I'm thinking is that, you know, Aquarius can be very idealistic. And so this idea of individual freedom, sometimes, because what I would say is, what is freedom? You know, there is this kind of fantasy about freedom, and we are free, yes, but at the same time, we are not so free. I mean, we all depend on each other. Even if I lock myself at home and I order everything online, I will still depend on people for now. Maybe in the future we'll have robots doing everything, but at least for now, I will still depend on someone bringing these objects at my home, even if I never want to leave the house, right? So we all depend on each other. So I think there is this kind of fantasy about freedom and this desire for ultimate freedom, and yes, and we think we are more and more free, and I think we are more and more enslaved, because it's like freedom by compulsion, not authentic freedom, but like freedom almost as a reaction. So it's creating, like you're saying, it's creating more disconnection. And I think because of the internet and WhatsApp and all of these things, we are into the illusion that we are connecting. I mean, in a way we are, of course. Look, we're chatting. I'm in Athens, you're, I don't know, in England, and we are connecting. So in a way it is true, but this is not intimate, no, right? We need some other forms of connection that it's not so easy to happen if we are all the time sending messages on WhatsApp.
Actually, that's such an important point, because what we have not talked about is the need for touch.
Yes,
And the need for touch is so vital. The children don't develop unless they are touched.
exactly. Yes, so vital. Yes.
You know, I think about elderly people who are on their own and nobody touches them except, you know, for medical interventions.
Yes, totally. Yes.
The loneliness of not being touched. And I think particularly for earth and water signs, that is, but I would say even fire signs, that's quite important. And obviously air signs will as well, because this is a human thing. Actually, it's a mammalian thing. Um, so that's really important. It's just that some people are more aware of that need than others. It's a bit like some people are more aware of their feelings than others. So this is so huge. So these are the challenges, that we are actually looking at in a time where there is an emphasis on one way to relate that seems to be kind of forgetting other needs to relate, um,
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
is so important. I'm sure that in your practice you have people who want to come and see you in person.
Yeah, of course, yes.
You have others who are fine online, but others want to see you in person. And very often clients will say, "Well, I'll come and I'll see you in person," and they do for the first 2, 3 times, and then they're happy to continue their therapy online, because what they wanted initially was that physical being in the same room, and maybe it's about feeling the energy of the other person is easier if you're
Yeah.
in the same room.
Yeah. Yeah. And the paradox is that um, I think we live in a times in which everything has been so much sexualized. It's like, we go on the street, and there are women, practically there are more, it happens more with women than men because of patriarchy, and there are whole posters of women practically naked, and there are demands of the way we should look, both for women and men, but I think it's always harder on women, how we should look. So it's like the well, but we could say this is maybe air, because it's about looks, maybe. I don't know. It's physical, but it's also about looks. It's like Libra aesthetics in some way. But it's like everything has been so sexualized. And at the same time, having physical contact with people has been so difficult. And we saw in COVID how necessary it is to meet in a room, to hug someone. Yeah.
That is so true what you just said about the sexualization of everything. Um, yes, you're right. And yet the intimacy seems to be missing. And I think that maybe that's why. Maybe that's why everything is so sexualized, because intimacy is missing. And so people are craving that connection, that intimacy, but not knowing how to. And of course, the sexualization of things is a good marketing strategy, obviously. And Venus has always liked to be attractive. This is, one of the principles of Venus. And so there she is. Um, it's a very interesting thing that we're experimenting and experiencing at this time, and we don't know where this is going to go. We certainly have a lot of pressure coming from technology to disconnect even further and rely on technological tools for a kind of illusion of intimacy.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see where this will all go. What do you feel?
I'm very pessimistic, to be honest. I am very, very pessimistic. And the talk I gave in the AA conference, I was talking about love in the times of AI, and I was talking about how one of the things people most use AI is for emotional support. And now there are all of these programs that they design a partner for you, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever gender you want, whatever looks you want, whatever voice you want, whatever kind of personality you want. And the way they promote it is this AI will never disappoint you. So I think the problem with this is that we grow in relationships because we're disappointed. I mean, not because we're disappointed, but because this other person has their own world, and this other world is alien to me. So it brings information that it's alien to me. A lot of times it's going to be projection. So a lot of times it's my own information, right? But through those moments of disappointment, through those moments of being hurt, perhaps in relationships, and also being loved, of course, also all the moments of being cared in a relationship. This is what makes me discover who I am, right? So to me, it's very scary to think that a lot of people are choosing relationships with an entity, let's call it, who can never disappoint you. It's so narcissistic. I think it's so problematic. But I have hope because Chiron is going into Taurus now. And I wonder, you know how there's this phenomenon, I was reading today, this phenomenon of people, I think I saw it's in New York, that they all meet. And actually, I have a patient who organizes this in Paris. Not exactly this, but something similar. People, they all meet in a park, for instance, to read. So they leave their phones out and they're reading together. It's a little bit air because in the end, everyone is reading their own book, you know, it's like, but there's something about being together in person. My patient, she's in Paris and she's organizing these activities in which people disconnect their phone for like 4 hours while they do the activity. Usually it's an activity that it involves kind of having to chat with the other person, right? So I'm wondering if so much fake images that we're seeing created by AI will not backlash and people will start saying, you know, I want to go back to the theater because I want to see that the actor is really doing this, that it's not fake. You know, I wonder if this will happen. I wonder about this Chiron in Taurus asking us to go back to your body. But I think also if it's Chiron, it means that it might be scary to do so. But it's also the healing path, right? If Chiron is there. So I wonder what will happen. Yeah.
I like your optimism and I share it. I am looking at the world and, you know, there are so many ways in which many people want to dodge pain. Because that's what this is, dodging the pain of potential rejection or dodging the pain of criticism and all of that. And yes, you're quite right. It is encouraging a very narcissistic existence. But then again, you know, how many people would choose antidepressants over actually doing therapy?
Totally. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
exactly the same thing. How many people are taking drugs and relying on alcohol or, you know, shopping until they're broke or gambling or whatever because they're wanting to avoid pain? I think that this is just the latest iteration
Yeah.
of the desire to avoid pain. And I think it's, as you say, it's not real and there's always going to be a market for that. But
Yes.
you're right that there comes a point at which that's not enough.
Yes. Yes. And
There comes a point at which, as you say, it's not real. And that's the point at which people tend to arrive on your doorstep and mine because they're going, okay, do you know, this isn't working and I think I need help out of this. And then it's up to the therapist to very gently help them tease out and look at the shadows and not be afraid and begin to heal. So I think it is extremely worrying that such a seductive proposition is being placed in front of people. But humanity is humanity, and it's not enough. You know, for I think a large proportion of the population, it will not be enough.
yes. Yes. And just like that, like you're saying, humanity is humanity. I would like to say I'm also part of humanity. So I understand also. I'm not, when we're saying this, people will want to escape the, yeah, me too. I also want to escape the pain. I'm also, I'm sure that in a lot of situations, I choose behaviors just to cope with life. Life is so hard, right? So we're not saying it in a judgmental way, more like in a describing what's happening. And because I'm also human, I'm also weak. That's why I can see how dangerous this can be, because I know I am also weak. We all have behaviors that might, that could be considered like, this is not such a healthy, this could be a little bit pathological. Yeah, I mean, I think we all have. Of course, there are degrees, but yeah, I think, but
You're
just like you're saying, humanity is humanity. So yeah, so we all share this struggle with pain.
exactly, totally. And it is precisely because of the vulnerability that we feel that we recognize the
Exactly.
attraction of what's on offer. And it's just that you and I are looking at it and going, that's a trap.
Exactly. Yes.
We're recognizing it as a trap because we know that any type of addiction is a trap. The feelings are trapped. And this is just the latest iteration of the trap. So I think that, this is it's a challenge, certainly, for us. But, and like you, as I say, I'm hopeful, and I am seeing, like you, a resurgence of the need for physical presence. So lots of groups that are springing up where they're doing things together, and being social. And I think this brings us back to the other side of Aquarius, which I was talking about, is that about the connection and as a whole, and wanting to be a part of something, a part of a group, that has a shared mindset and that does things together for the whole. And in terms of intimate relationships, then it's being with somebody who also has that feeling and that sense of responsibility towards society, towards humanity. And I think that that is the antidote to the other part of Aquarius.
Yeah, yeah. Very nice. Yes.
Well, you've certainly given us food for thought, and you are giving us more food for thought, because you are going to be giving a talk for the Brighton astrology
Yes.
on the 5th of November, called Rebels, Villains, and Saints, which
Yes.
I think is definitely something that is going to grab many people. So it is Rebels, Villains, and Saints, the Brighton Astrology Circle. I'll be putting a link to their website in the description box, as well as a link to the talk that you gave for the Astrological Association
Great.
conference, so people can find that. But if people want to see you or find out more about you, how do they do that?
Okay, so my website, my name is Alejo Lopez, and my website is Alejo Lopez Astrology. Very easy. The Instagram is the same, Alejo Lopez Astrology. The YouTube channel, which I don't do so many YouTubes as you do, actually, but the YouTube channel is also the same, Alejo Lopez Astrology. So just Alejo Lopez Astrology, and I'm there. Yes.
And is that .com or .co.uk
It's
or
.com. .com.
.com? Sorry, wouldn't be UK, would of course. Wonderful. I'll be putting a link to all of this in the description box. Alejo, thank you for such a thought-provoking conversation.
Oh, no, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching. Just a reminder that in the description box, you will also find the links to my Substack and my websites. Do have a look because there are courses that you might want to join, and subscribe to this channel and my my newsletter, in which you find information about lots of things to do with healing as well as astrology. Until next time, goodbye.